Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Montana. As I was playing a lot of American battleships last week, trying to figure out the Wisconsin, get some better games, and I think I succeeded in doing that. But I also managed to get myself some very nice Montana games. So I had to share a few of them with you, since this is such a classic battleship, one of my favorites in the entire game. As far as Wisconsin versus Monty goes, they're probably very similar in power levels, kind of my conclusion. Wisconsin might even be better for a lot of you. For me though, I think there's just some sort of Montana nostalgia that keeps me liking this ship just a little bit more. It's nothing rational or objective about the ship, it's just down to winning all those Kings of the Seas all those years ago. I was playing Montana in almost all of those, so I have a little more attachment to this ship, shall we say. But I like it, man. Montana is just such a classic. 406s, you get 12 of them instead of just 9 on the Wisconsin. And even though they are worse dispersion, just that volume of fire can certainly make up for the lack of battlecruiser dispersion, slightly worse Sigma. This ship is also tankier. The funny button on Wisconsin is certainly very nice, especially that it's not only a reload booster, but the consumable reload as well. So you can get away with using a heal and then quickly getting back to another heal, where Monty doesn't get that. Very vanilla in this case. But that vanilla is very good anyway. The hull here is so much better. Even though we citadeled that other Montana, you gotta be a little worried when you go broadside. If you can keep this thing angled, the superstructure is much smaller, the extra HP you get straight up is very nice, and it still retains that nice boosted heal. Not a super heal, not a fast cooldown heal, but a slightly improved heal, which is nice to see. When those 12 guns hit, they can hit very hard. Obviously, you're going to get trolled with dispersion in any battleship, but 12 406s here out of Montana certainly can do a lot of damage. And in this case, we're just playing the flank, since we always are looking for broadsides anytime we're playing a ship that doesn't have as much overmatch. Monty certainly will fit into that case. Schlieffen might be pushing us here, but we do have some teammates around, and really I'm just looking to get some flanking shots here. Whether or not the Monty goes broadside or the Schlieffen decides to turn out here, that's really what I was hoping for. We don't have to worry too much angled in like this. Anytime there would be more of a destroyer presence, certainly a submarine or carrier over here, yeah, that's going to be a bad idea to be caught at a bow-in angle like this. We would be forced to turn away. But even against Schlieffen secondaries, well, the smaller ones aren't going to pen our upper belt or deck armor, so if we angle like this, we're not taking as much damage, and we can do some pretty decent damage into his superstructure as well back to him. With team help, I'm okay with taking this trade. It certainly wouldn't be good one-on-one against a Schlieffen this close, but anytime you're fighting a Schlieffen, you have to consider the armor values that you have. 32 mil bow is going to get full pen by all those secondaries, assuming he's got a FHE. So taking this angle is actually a little bit better. Broadside Monty again, round 2. This time maybe we can do just a little bit better. Dispersion looks fine to bad actually, but we get 2 citadels this time, 42,000 damage. That's certainly what we like to see. So 150k already, feeling pretty good. Jumping forward a bit, not a whole lot happened. Shot a little bit at the Azumo, but crucially, the Midway shows up. And this is where we want the extra shell volume. Something like the main also having even more guns into such a giant target like a carrier, it's going to be very nice. And fortunately for us, we get some very nice dispersion as well. Not quite the one shot I was hoping for, but 3 citadels, 60,000 damage in one shot feels pretty darn good. 230,000 damage just like that. And a decent way towards winning this game. Our team does finish off the Monty, so I can move my shot over to, say, this Azumo, for example. For the most part, whenever I'm playing a Montana or something with 406s like this, I am still trying to play at closer ranges. Even though we don't have the secondary gimmicks or hydro or anything like that, this is still more of a close range battleship, just in my opinion, since the shell can do less damage at longer ranges. We don't quite have the pen or overmatch like we would see on some of the other battleships at this tier, where we can play at longer ranges and still do quite well. Monty can snipe, it's fine, but really we want to be within 15 kilometers from a lot of people. That way we can guarantee big hits like that into superstructures. It's very powerful, even against angled ships at superstructures close range. And then, of course, into cruisers and even battleship broadsides at these closer ranges, we can guarantee better salvos just because, well, it's hard to hit people at longer ranges. Wisconsin does have a nice shell speed improvement over Monty at longer ranges. It doesn't have as much drag, I think, because the initial velocity is basically the same, I think. So something about the shell drag in the air makes Wisconsin shells a little quicker at longer ranges. So with Monty, we do have to lead a lot more. Very nice first game, but I have another one where the game wasn't going so hot for our team. Certainly didn't have the best start myself, less than 100k here, and we're already 8 minutes into this match, nearly 9 minutes in. So not as potent early on as that first match. But something about Montana also is really important, that this ship just kind of survives. Anytime you're in a bad situation, the ship is very, very difficult to take down. It's very tanky. And anytime you can play the flank or you get pushed away, sure, the enemy team takes the caps. If you can stay alive and hold that flank, or at least provide some crossfire, this ship can win a lot of games like that. And Wisconsin as well, a lot of battleships can, but that's kind of the special sauce of Montana, I guess we could say. Even though it is quite vanilla, it just is very, very difficult to take down. In this case, Colombo Sap, Conqueror HE is pretty difficult to deal with, to be honest with you. We would certainly go down rather quickly if the friendly carrier didn't spot this destroyer for us. But this allows us to actually go dark here. So I don't actually have to stay spotted this whole time. And now is when I want to just heal up a little bit. Those heals don't come back all that quickly, so I am all in favor of going dark here. Wait until the salvos come through, use our damage control, and we go dark. Very nice to see. And now we get to play that waiting game. Wait for the enemy ships to lose interest in us or forget we're here. They go broadside onto us. And that's when we want to pounce, right? We don't want to just fully run away and not engage, but I don't want to be the center point, I guess, the main focus of the enemy team. And as they decide to push towards the B cap, since we are up on caps, they need to go get the B cap. That's when they're going to be forced broadside to me. I'm always looking for those opportunities, whether it's early game and people are trying to get into initial positions, island cover, right? Any cruisers trying to get to forward positional islands. I'm looking for broadside opportunities on them, but in the late game as well. Think about where the enemy team is going to be forced to go or where they should be going, right? In this case, they have to go get the B cap somehow. And it looks like the enemy DD or sub, I guess, in this case, is getting the cap for them. But still, that Conqueror is nice and broadside to us. Enemy carrier's coming in for us, but he's been taken out already, so we know these are his last planes, so I'm just going to try and angle away from them. I'm really, really trying to help keep this Napoli alive as well. We're on low HP, I don't have much healing left, and we get that Citadel. As soon as we get a little bit closer, then suddenly we can start to Citadel that Conqueror, which feels very nice. Eat a few torps, not too bad, but we're up to 200k now. Right? A little bit of a slower match. I'm cutting through it. There's a lot of boring parts where I'm not really doing a whole lot. But I do want to show this one as well, just to show that sometimes just living and managing to retain some of that battle impact into the late game, or at least your gun power. Even if we're on low HP and we're not able to just fully tank as much, sometimes it's all it takes is that crossfire that you can set up in the late game, since people might not be expecting it, or they'll be forced into worse situations where they have to give broadside to you. Colombo here pushing in. I'm very, very scared of that sap, not gonna lie. So trying to finish him off with superstructure hits. Probably should have gone with some HE, honestly, given how angled he is. And yeah, look at that sap just crushing us, even though we're still angled. Very scary, but we do manage to hold on and actually win this game. I didn't even have to get into the cap. The important side of getting so far ahead on points and then being able to look ahead and see if your team is going to win on points. I do have a mod to help me with that, but you can learn, or you can kind of calculate that on your own in-game, but the mod certainly is very helpful. 223 in this one. A very nice second game in Monty. Nearly 3k base even. Although certainly more of a slow burn in that second game. I really like Montana, man. I think it's a quite strong ship, but so is Wisconsin. And very cool to see that ship in the dockyard being a fairly strong one, and that dockyard being a pretty reasonable monetization practice, I think, for wargaming. Unfortunately, the battle pass and almost everything else in this update is very predatory, but at least the dockyard's good. Some of this Golden Week stuff is a little bit insane. do not recommend engaging with that Chakuma 2, whatever that golden Chakuma 2 stuff is. Heavy gambling for that sort of stuff. So definitely just go with the dockyard if you're interested in any monetization this update. But here's the build that I was running for some of it. I'm really experimenting with this one with Halsey, but having a more normal commander looking like this can do very well. Running fire prevention, concealment, extra healing, just very basic adrenaline rush, very basic stuff, but it works very well. That's why it's the standard, I suppose, the standard build. I would go Grease the Gears and Gunfeeder first, actually, especially if you have one of the special commanders, but maybe preventive maintenance over it. But I really like Grease the Gears, and the improved ones here on the American side are very nice, allowing us to have that 31-second turret traverse, really valuing that, even over some of the extra range, maybe. Montana in the American line doesn't have any accuracy upgrade here. It's over in the 6th slot, so we can either take turret traverse or extra gun range. Secondary is not worth going for on Montana. You should really be looking to get Ohio for something like that. But that's one of the reasons Ohio is so strong, is you can take secondary range and accuracy alongside your main gun accuracy at the same time. None of the other ships, other nations in this game really have that option. They have to choose if they're a secondary build, they're giving up accuracy upgrades, where on the American side you're not, which is pretty cool. And of course, Monty Hull is just incredibly tanky. This is very strong, and just look at how little this superstructure is in comparison to the Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin is just so much more dense. Like, there's just so much more here. It's almost like this deck armor here, right? Just this bottom tier. It's almost like they chopped that off for the Monty Hull, right? It's just shorter and longer, a little longer, but less here. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's more visual, I suppose. And certainly you feel the difference. You certainly feel this extra difference here in the middle where Monty just has so much less, especially here. It's important. Because then you can angle more without taking those massive hits to your superstructure. So that's something that does make Monty quite tanky. Although, I survived a lot in Wisconsin too, to be fair. It's also a very strong ship. Monty's just one of the tankier battleships, so I gotta point that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed, had some fun taking a look at such a classic battleship. I always enjoy this thing, so I'm very happy to have some good games to show you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.